Good evening, everybody.
Okay.
Welcome to another episode of King's Tales. My name is Rex Shege. I'm the host and founder. And on tonight, we have a very special guest joining us to talk a little bit about bullying and tell us a little bit about his book that he just published and released a couple months ago. So, without further ado, I'll yield the floor to him and allow him the opportunity to introduce himself.
I want to say thanks for having me, Rex. Good to see you, brother. But for those who don't know me, my name is Kori. I'm an author, a fresh author. This is actually my third book, published third book, and I'm also a speaker and a pastor.
Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Corey. So as he stated, yes, he is a now at this point an established author. Three books.
Oh, bless you.
He the title of his most recent book is actually a children's book titled Coco's New Friend, and it is a anti-bullying book, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so
it's a
if you don't mind, like what was the inspiration behind it? Like what caused you to want to, write a children's book of all things, honestly.
well. I mean, it's a funny story. It was a last minute senior project for an English class, about 11, 12 years ago.
Oh wow.
So it wasn't supposed to, like, I didn't create it for anyone, which is the crazy thing. I can't remember what the subject was, but as I was creating this book, it started off as a project, but I knew that I had the vision of what I wanted to create. And so I pretty much wrote it in one night, literally. I'm not even gonna
Oh
lie. I
wow.
wrote it in one night, and it was just something for a senior project, to now, you know, 10 plus years later, it gets published and it ends up becoming a children's book. And it's so funny that I started connecting with the book more as it was, as I seen the effect that it was having on parents and on children and on our culture in general. So pretty much I created the book from a project, and now it's a published piece. And I'm just shocked at, as far as seeing how it has taken off and how far it's gone, because it was nothing that was never really, it wasn't something I was passionate with when I first wrote it. Pretty much is
Mhm.
my point. And now seeing the impact of it, I started to um to to pretty much pick pieces of the experiences and the things that I've been through, that could really help people as far as understanding why I created the book. Um yeah, bullying um has always been a part of everyone's life. Like, we all go through it. And so I created it just as a common thing that we all go through, not knowing that it would be the answer, and be the solution for someone's life.
Mm. Wow. That's so crazy. Like what originally started as, like as a senior project, something that you didn't even think would be as impactful of a publication. And now not only did you co-author it with you co-authored it with your dad, right?
Co-authored as well. Yes, yes, he is the one that pretty much advised me, and initiated the publishing of that book. And then after that, it pretty much just took off. I have a few people that are always requesting it. I have a few schools and a few facilities that also have requested it and have purchased it.
Wow.
So so God is blessing us, and He's blessing me, as far as, um with the book and the answers that people are looking for.
Wow. I'm telling you, sometimes it's really I love the revelation that we get sometimes. When we're doing things, we won't even realize how much of an impact it's gonna have on the people
Oh
around us
yeah.
until like we actually do it.
Oh yeah.
And it's actually amazing hearing that your book now is actually you getting the opportunity to share your story and in turn help other people overcome their trials and tribulations with bullying.
Absolutely.
So into my next question. So bullying is defined by the CDC as unwanted aggressive behavior, observed or perceived power imbalance, or repetition of high likelihood of repetition of bullying behaviors. As an author of an anti-bullying book and an advocate against bullying, what have you learned, either from experience or education, that can help others overcome their bullies?
I think what I've learned is that, and this is something that we're just now realizing in maybe the last 4 or 5 years, because a lot of people are, I would say, advocates of mental health, but
Mm-hmm.
mental health is at a all-time high. Like mental health crisis is at an all-time high. And if you look at even the events that's been happening, like around the world and around the U.S. Specifically, there have been crimes and there have been results from bullying, and so every time I look at this type of stuff, or I watch the news, or I look at an article, I'm like, wow, like this book is really going to help some child, because we got to start it at the root. Like this book is pretty much based, um, the base audience is for children, but that's because it's something that needs to start at the root, so that we can understand how to build a positive environment and a safe place for everyone. It's a lot of rebuilding of social skills, because
Mm,
people have gone through their own trauma and people have gone through their own things in their home, and a lot of times bullying is a learned behavior. So that's what I've learned, that bullying is a learned behavior, and that's what I've learned from experience. Um, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people that can agree with me that you've been bullied or been the bully. And so a lot of times you learn experience from both ends. But I think that a lot of the ways that people can overcome um the 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 bullying is they just have to be confident in who they are.
mm.
Now, if we're talking about the person, or are we talking about the system? Because there's there's many things that we can do for ourselves, and then there's many things that we can do as far as implementing policies and things like that, so that people take that stuff seriously. Because a lot of the times people don't take that subject serious. Like bullying is not something that people take serious when you're 30, until you end up in a workplace and now you understand that, okay, it's not physical altercation, but these people are passive aggressive. They're spreading rumors, they're spreading lies. So it's really no way to define um what bullying is, because there's so many forms of it that a lot of the times people don't even realize that they just got bullied emotionally or just got bullied mentally, because they just didn't see it happen physically when it happened in the fifth and the sixth grade. But in my experience, I grew up in a neighborhood, and in an environment where that was just it was just power. Like people just wanted power. And a lot of the times, I'm a boy, you're a boy, I'm a male, you're a male. A lot of times it's big within our gender, because
Oh yeah,
yeah, because males just want to enforce that they can't be.
dominance.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's just a dominance thing. So I grew up in a environment where it was a lot of gang related activities. So I
Mm,
learned what bullying was real quick, and you was either going to be on the end of bullying, or you was going to be the one getting bullied. And so in my experience, once you have experienced bullying, or um or you have been the bully, you understand that you can't just be a bystander. And a lot of times, a lot of people are bystanders, which affects them as well. So you have literally three parties. You got a bully, you got the one being bullied, and then you got the bystander, and all three parties are being affected. So it's a lot of ways to overcome it, but the way that someone, if I was speaking to a child, the way that someone should overcome it is just being confident, and not giving them in a response, not giving a response into it, because a lot of times, we see these articles and that was the response. Let me kill myself. Let me kill them.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the news, the Walmart incident with the coworker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The thing is, the law tried to pretty much assume that maybe he was in an environment where he was being bullied. Another example, think of the young student at the Virginia University.
Yeah.
He shot three of his teammates, and they said what was the leading cause. They said it was bullying. So nobody ever wants to talk about it until it's something that is really affecting us as a community.
Right. No, you're absolutely correct. And I really loved how you went in depth on how sometimes like a lot of the times we have to look inwardly before we go around like trying to play the blame game and point fingers at other people.
Absolutely.
Like sometimes, as a matter of fact, I can honestly confidently say, just based off of my experience, like 90% of the time it's us, not them. And you really do have to there's a level of accountability that you have to take and realize that, although I went through these experiences, although I was bullied, although I may have felt that way, like I have to get to the root source and figure out, okay, why do I feel the way that I do? And one of the things that I always say that I'm constantly reminding myself and others is you can't control the thoughts, feelings, or actions of other people, but you can control your own. So once you get to the root of that, then you're able to, kind of better navigate a whole bunch of things.
Absolutely. I agree. I think that a lot of the times people are they are trying to find a method for how to deal with what they've seen or what they've experienced, because a lot of times it's just a learned behavior, and it's just it's a lot of causes of why people do what they do, but I think one of the leading causes is just a self-esteem issue. But
yeah,
the ultimate epidemic is cyberbullying. That's like if you read the statistics, the biggest percentage of what is happening is cyberbullying in our community. The biggest one is based off your appearance. The second is is finance. It's finances. There's so many factors that everybody just thinks that they're just doing the normal thing, and they're normalizing bullying even online just because it's not what they perceive as normal. And so a lot of times we got to teach these kids and these adults even, because they need to teach their own kids how to create a safe place for everyone. Like there's no reason that somebody should feel left out, or they should feel insulted, or they should feel less than because of your attitude or because of your posture. There's no way.
Very well said. Absolutely. And another thing that you pointed out earlier that you were talking about, like I know that sometimes the media kind of portrays, and like whether it's on the movies, on social media, or like TV shows, like we always see bullying happening in a school place environment. But one thing that I learned as I got older, especially like when I started working and stuff, is that there's workplace bullying too. There's quid pro quo, there's coercion, like there's microaggressions. And one of the things about it, like in school, at least for me, like whenever I felt like someone was trying to bully me, like I can at least say something, or I'll be honest, like I had an issue with cussing people out, and now, like as a professional, you realize that you can't do that anymore. You can't cuss out your coworkers. You can't cuss out your supervisor.
Yep.
I mean, you could,
100%.
but you're not gonna have a job anymore.
HR. You right there.
So, once you find yourself in those new environments now, you got to change your response, your reaction to those negative stressors. And so, yeah, it's been interesting, especially seeing how I didn't even know that workplace bullying was a thing until like I actually started educating
Yep.
myself. I was like, oh wow, sheesh.
It's so true. It's so true. I've had people come to me saying that they felt uncomfortable in their workplace. I've been in a position where I felt uncomfortable in the workplace. And it's crazy because it's big in sales. It's big in sales.
Mm,
I used to work in sales a couple years ago. I used to work in sales, and this is how the meetings would go. My manager, if our numbers were declining, he would say things like, "Well, if you don't want to work here, you could just go back to flipping burgers." Why? We would be like, "Why is that
yikes.
my? Why is that my only work? That if I leave here, I got to go work at Burger King or McDonald's?" And I'm not knocking that, but he was knocking it because it
Mm,
was almost making it seem like, okay, this is your label, and if you don't do what I say, so it's a lot of forms of bullying. And I think that a lot of people just don't understand it because they've never educated themselves on it.
yeah.
So we have to be mindful of the things that we say to our kids, to our peers, to our coworkers, and to other professionals, because at the end of the day, we all want to get the goal done. And if somebody's feeling uncomfortable and you sitting there wondering why they calling out every day, it's because you're spreading rumors, you're insulting them, you're doing passive aggressive jabs, and so a lot of people don't even know what that is. They don't even know that that's bullying until they literally have to experience it. And you're like, why do I feel drained every time I come home from work, from school, from church, from my family? A lot of people get bullied by their family, and then they don't want to spend Christmas with them.
Man, you talking good.
It's so common. It's so common that it's almost easy to miss. It's almost easy to miss, and that's when we have to just learn how to set boundaries
There
and
it is.
and set limits and not give people an emotional reaction. Um, because there's some things that we have dealt with in our childhood that is still plaguing us because we won't deal with it eternally.
Mm,
So when someone confronts us on that, it's always going to be a test. And every time somebody confronts us on us, every time somebody confronts us on an insecurity, on a failure, on something that you don't like about yourself,
yeah.
that is a test for you, you know? And a lot of people don't realize that it's not to weaken you, but it's to strengthen your mental so that
Hmm.
nobody can take that away from you. No one can take your confidence away from you. No one can take your authenticity away from you. No one can take who you are away from you. It doesn't matter if I had to learn how to embrace the fact that I was different from some crowds. I was different from how they seen this person. I'm like they've never seen anyone like me, and that's something to embrace at the end of the day. People don't realize that they end up um wanting to be like someone else and compare themselves because this person isn't going through that, but you don't know what that person is going through.
Right.
So everything is an internal battle before it becomes external. Everything,
Everything is internal before it becomes external. I like that.
everything.
Um, so you mentioned earlier about boundaries, and sometimes we'll do all, like you said, we'll do all the external work. We'll set boundaries. We'll tell people that we'll feel some certain way about things. But if we don't change our perception and our mindset, then like all the stuff that we're putting in place, like it can be really easy for us to backslide. So I remember you mentioned earlier about like your childhood and your environment and where you were when you were growing up. Like, how was changing your perception and your mindset? Like, how did it allow you to heal and help others now as an adult when it came to bullying?
Mm, that's good. I had to learn how to be more um sympathetic with people. I had to understand that um as well as I'm going through something, that person is also going through something, and that's just their outlet. My outlet isn't to go attack someone or to bash them, but my outlet may be to isolate myself from everyone, so everybody has a way of dealing with whatever trauma or whatever triggers that they have. And so a lot of the times I feel like we just have to deal with us.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if we don't deal with us, then what somebody is saying or what somebody is um and the people that are against us and things like that and the words that you've heard, those are things that will always torture you.
yeah,
It'll
yeah.
torment
Hmm.
you if you are not if you don't deal with yourself and if you don't talk to people.
Oh
There are a
yeah,
lot of people that have been bullied and that are gone from the world because you know they didn't have someone that they could communicate with. And a lot of times it's big in the black culture, and it's big in us being males. Us being males,
yeah.
like women may deal with it. Statistics say that cyberbullying, women deal with it the most, more
Hmm.
than men, but men talk about it less because
Yeah.
it's something that takes away their masculinity.
Hmm.
And so now they're trying to deal with it by themselves, and they have taken their life or they have taken it out on someone, or now they have built up aggression towards anybody that's pretty much challenging them. They have now become aggressive to society. And if you know anything about when a bully is when he or she finally meets the consequences, it doesn't really help them. It kind of just makes them more of a bully towards the system. They get more mad
Hmm.
at the system, and so now they're in jail bullying people. They're in whatever environment that they can be in to just get power, to just have a sense of control over the things that they've been through.
Yeah.
And so I think these are just different outlets for people. And a lot of times they've just not learned a different way of knowing how to handle a disagreement or knowing how to handle something that's different from what they've experienced in church and in the world and school. Everybody's different, and some people just don't know how to accept what different is.
Very true. And I feel like you're literally hitting the nail on the head with every single time that you open your mouth. But it's it's so crazy. Like um, we really do have to make an active effort to unlearn things because, like you said, like we'll kind of see how the people around us handle things, and then we'll pick
Hmm.
up on those habits, and then it's normalized. And
Hmm.
then when you step out of that environment and you realize that it isn't normal, then you're like, oh wow, this is crazy. Like, what have I been doing my whole life? Like, um, for me at least, like when I used to deal with bullying, like I used to think that it was just me, and I was just going through all this stuff by
Hmm.
myself, and that I was
Absolutely.
weird and I was different, and I was outcast. And but when I started opening my mouth and talking more and seeing other men that look like me, that talk like me, that behave the same way as me, I was like, oh wow, I'm not alone. Like there are other people that are going through the same exact things that I'm going through, and all I had to do was
Exactly.
open my mouth.
Yep. So true. There is no normal. I
Right.
I think that there is no normal, especially in like the world we live in today, where like we're using pronouns now to describe genders and roles,
Hmm.
and so a lot of people need to just get, because life will literally pass you by while things are elevating, things are shifting,
Yeah.
things are growing, and you still have the same mindset. And I look at a lot of comments on posts on social media and things like that, and I'm like, this is absolutely. It's just like if you literally don't have nothing good to say, you should literally just shouldn't say anything. You
Anything.
just shouldn't say anything. But we're so far off from that because everybody has an opinion
Hmm.
on everything. And my thing is a lot of times people opinion they think it's their expertise. And I'm like,
Right.
this is not your expertise. Like when things is not my expertise, know
I
that
ain't
my
got nothing to
response is
say.
going to sound more right because my response is going to sound more judgmental
Oh,
than
oh
something
man.
that's helpful or something that can heal you. I can't help you with this. I can redirect you to someone who can help you with this, but people who have issues or the things that we post on social media, if there's a comment to be made, even if it's an obvious comment, like it's just something crazy, I have nothing to say. I have nothing to say because you don't know at the end of the day what that person was going through, what made them post that video.
Hmm.
Because again, mental health is a is at an all time high as far as what people are going through and them not seeking out professional help. And us as a people, us as a community, we're not helping it, and all we're going to do is pass that down to another generation. And now here we go with more suicides. Here we go with more murders. Here we go with more outbreaks,
And
shootouts,
incarcerations and
more aggression because nobody wants to um nobody wants to be that person that stands out and say you're okay with me. You don't know, like you don't see those type of comments.
mm-mm.
Everything's a joke. Everything is insult.
Right.
So that's just the way that social media works. And in order for you to exist and live in this world, you have to be ready for those type of comments. Like when you start businesses and when you start new ideas, there's always going to be someone that has a rebuttal. There's always going to be someone that thinks that you shouldn't be doing this. But at the same time, they're just mad because they're not doing it. They're just mad because they not you. And so that's the power that you have. And I think people don't understand. I think the ones being bullied don't understand. Okay, why is this person targeting me? Why is the comments always targeting me? And my thing is, I know the saying, that publicity or attention or whatever the saying is not um is that attention or publicity, whether it's good or bad, is good. And I don't think they understand that because
Yeah.
it's good. It's good. This person is so focused and targeted on you because they're intimidated,
Hmm.
they're threatened, but because you're intimidated and threatened, your perspective
It's
doesn't
off.
see that. Yeah, exactly. Your perspective doesn't see that they're intimidated, that they're threatened, that they're mad because they can't be who they want to be. They're mad because they can't start what you just started. They're mad because they lack the intellect to do what you're
Hmm.
doing. And so a lot of times the people would just seek that out, seek the power that's within them. Because I know so many people that had to dig out of that, and they're so successful in their sphere of influence out of getting out of those bad situations, but it did nothing but make them stronger. I know a gay person right now who got bullied, and now he is literally like marketing for fashion. Like you just have to make it out. You just have to get out of your environment. You have to understand that there's more than there's more to the eye than what you see,
Mm.
right? So
Yep.
so much further there's so much further to go. This is not the end. This is not the end for you, but this is just the beginning. This is showing you that you will have enemies, but you will still, but no weapon formed against you will ever prosper.
I don't know, man. You preaching right now. You preaching.
Oh, well, what? Watch. I get a
uh,
spark.
Claude. says people are afraid to have a singular unpopular opinion, especially if it means they have to stand behind it. I'll tell you,
So true.
sometimes when you gotta stand up on that podium by yourself,
I
the limelight's on you, and other people are looking at you, waiting to judge you and throw all these
Yep.
slurs and stuff at you. You gotta stand 10 toes down on it for real.
People love to be bystanders. People love to be bystanders because they don't want the attention to them be on them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want the attention to be on them. But I think that if people were more bold, we'd have a lot more accomplished in the world. Like,
Right.
we'd have a lot more solutions invented, created, produced. If people learn to be bold, but we're programmed to go with the crowd. We're programmed to go with whatever idea the world wants us to have.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to be set apart because that's going to be us being vulnerable and us being attacked, open for attack. You know, so a lot of people hide in their money, they hide in careers, they hide behind the screen, and a lot of times they're going to realize that they've done nothing. They have no results because they were so afraid to go against the grain. They were so afraid of the unpopular opinion. They were so afraid of what people would say or what their peers would say. And so a lot of times you think you're living and you haven't lived anything because you're afraid. And a lot of that is because of their childhood, whatever they dealt with in their childhood. Like maybe their security was, okay, let me hide. Let me hide from this. Maybe in their relationship they said, let me hide from this. So a lot of times, whatever the bullying effect grows up with us.
The person, yep.
Exactly. I remember being I was the type of person, as soon as you challenged me, I'm about to end it right here. I'm about to end it.
Man.
I'm about to end it. And I had to learn to not respond so aggressively because you're going to meet that person that don't want to back down either.
Yep.
And then what's your response going to be after that? Like, you're going to just keep fighting fire with fire, just pouring gas on the fire until it's done. Then you realize you done destroyed so much. You realize that you feel so much worse because of your response. You're like, why did I react like that? Why did I let that person take me there off of them saying this or that, or saying I was unsuccessful, or saying that I was broke, or saying I couldn't do this? And we realized, again, once we are alone, we realized it was an internal battle. It was never about Rex bullying me, but it was about me bullying myself. I've been bullying myself, and I've actually been agreeing with the bully that I've been agreeing with the bully. I'm almost 30 now. I could be in a mindset and in a perspective where I have agreed with this bully since I've heard it at 9 years old. And now everything that has to do with that situation can trigger me. It can traumatize me, and you don't know what type of response you are going to get, but you have to learn how to control your response and discipline yourself.
Yeah.
Discipline yourself. I've seen TikTok videos right now of like local churches that are getting cyber bullied, you know? And our response is not to go back at 200 people, but our response is to keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, because somebody's going to recognize, somebody's going to get help from this. Somebody is going to recognize the realness in what you're doing. Somebody's longing for what you do. And now that all this attention is on you, move with it. That's momentum.
Right.
It's momentum to just keep going, not stop. Keep going. No, man is not God, and God is the only one that has called you. And a lot of people are mad when you are so called by God that man can't stop it, that they have no other resource but to bully, but to throw jabs, but to throw insults. So this is what we need to teach our children at a young age, is that you're going to deal with this. You're not always going to be likable. You're not always going to be everybody's cup of tea. somebody's going to think you're different. Somebody's going to think you're weird. Somebody's going to think you're strange, even if it's not based off your appearance.
Yep.
Stay strong.
Stay strong. I love it. All right. So to close out, because again, I just feel like this was a very productive conversation, and it's something that definitely needs to be had more,
Oh yeah,
especially in spaces where people, especially men of color, are able to talk and share their experiences. Because again, we're probably one of the biggest demographics of the people that are dealing with the mental health issues, that are dealing with
absolutely,
the undiagnosed illnesses.
absolute undiagnosed.
So,
Absolutely.
um, what's one piece of advice that you would give to any of the men in the audience help face their inner child and conquer their past bullies?
Mm. Um, start with the. I would say start with the bully in you.
Mm.
Fight that bully first. Fight that bully first. What's the first thing that you think of yourself when you are alone? What's the first thing you think of yourself when you just failed? What's the first thing that you think of when you just made a mistake or you just became embarrassed? You're in a position where you're embarrassed. And a lot of the times that's when our inner bully, because it's so much more, so much deeper than the people that have bullied us. All they did was plant a seed. They planted a seed in us that we didn't know could be planted. Like we didn't know that about ourselves. Like, oh, Kori, you short, or you'll never be this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, mom, like you go home, you're like, oh, mom, dad, I never do this. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that I was so different. I didn't know that society wouldn't accept me. And so a lot of the times we grow up with those same with that same trauma that we have never dealt with. So my piece of advice is to deal with the inner bully first, and to and I think once you have done that, you'll realize that your authenticity, like the authentic you, is what people are looking for. They're not looking for the bystander. They're not looking. You don't have to be a bully to get attention. You don't have to be a bully to show people what you can do or how you can perform, but they just want to see the authentic you. And I think a lot of us young people, we have to we have to realize we have more young people that were being authentic. I'm telling you, there is not nothing that we couldn't conquer in the world. Like everybody has a product, but behind the product needs to be the authentic you.
Yep.
And so people are going to buy, I think people are going to seek out, buy, purchase, um, one advice based off of what you've gone through and how it's authentically affected you. So
Hmm.
us sitting here talking about bullying, we're just talking about the things that have shaped us so much that now we are here. We're
Yep.
we're on a podcast. We're on King's Tales. We're creating children's books. Like this stuff don't just pop up out of nowhere, but it
Mm-mm.
pops up of the things that God wanted you to go through. These are things. This was all in God's plan, as Drake would say. It was God's plan. It was God's plan for us to go through the things that we've gone through because He's trying to show you that the things that you dislike about yourself is the things that I love most about you. It's
Mm.
the things that you dislike and the things that you're irritated about is the things that's about to open doors for you. It's the things that's about to create wealth for you. If you just deal with it and heal. We have to deal and heal. We have to deal and heal. We got to deal with the cards that we've been dealt and heal. And a lot of people have not had an outlet or they have not had someone to communicate with that could give them different perspectives because uh, um, with suicide rates like being high, it's because they didn't have that friend, they didn't have that parent, they didn't have that family member that could encourage them. So I'm encouraging everybody to, I don't care how ugly, messy your past is, That is the authentic you, to accept what you have gone through, even in your childhood, from the people that you thought you could trust and that you thought that you could be yourself around. We have to learn how to unleash it, and let the chips fall where they may. Some people's gonna be mad, some people's gonna be glad. And you gotta stick by the people that's glad. So many times we stick with the people that are the critics and negative ones, that we don't even look at the positivity that we're unlocking in this world. Like, I'm not looking at how many sales I got on the book. I'm just listening to the testimonials of what people are saying about the book or how it's helping them. We have to change our perspective and focus on the right things and the positive things, even in ourselves. If we can focus on the positivity that is in us and the self-love, and let that thing grow, people will feel that energy. People will feel that energy and automatically be drawn to you, because a lot of times somebody who is bullied is somebody that wants to be loved and wants to be accepted by people. And we have to help the younger generation and the youth that are coming before us. We have to help them accept themselves and understand that there's always something different built inside of you. And even though the difference you may dislike is something that is going to is something that's going to set you apart. And I had to learn that about myself. Being around talented friends and wonderful and great people, I had to figure out, okay, well, what's wonderful and great about me? Because again, you start thinking about those voices in your head telling you you were nothing in sixth grade, or telling you you were too much of this, you're too ugly, you're too this. I'm telling you, those comments stick with us. I don't care if you're 80 years old. I don't care how sage you are. I don't care how big your mouth is in a room. Many of us deal with the same issues, and it starts with our childhood. So I'm glad that this book is reaching the youth, because the youth is the root of what's going to happen in the future.
Yep.
The youth are the root of the future. Like, how are we going to build up this society? How are we going to build this next generation, so that everybody feels accepted, so that the death rates can go down, suicides can go down. This crime with the guns and stuff, this is crazy.
Yep.
Every week, every day, somebody has killed a family member, a friend, a student, a colleague, a coworker, and it all starts here. People don't want to listen to this. They just want to know the nosiness of the case, but they don't want to know that. But they don't want to understand and undig that it was bullying that was the cause, and they don't want to even relate to that. But if we can relate to one another, or be empathetic or sympathetic, this is something that's going to I feel like this is a these are points that are going to be gained to who we are authentically. And so I try to listen to people. I try to see them and not just respond. Just listen to what these people are saying, and you will learn so much about people. You'll learn so much about people in order to push them in the right direction. Like, listen, this wasn't bad for you, but this was good for you. Somebody told me that when I told them I was being bullied, they said it builds character, and that's what it did for me. And I was like, you are me. You said, I'm telling you that this is happening to me, that this person don't like me, this person don't call my jeans tight. And it's something that has authentically built me. Like,
Yeah.
I got bullied for wearing straight jeans, not even tight. Like, the skater boys wear tight jeans.
Yeah, right.
I was wearing straight legs, but because the whole school is still wearing jeans looking like 50 Cent in 2002, and I'm not, and now you can't even go nowhere in 5 baggy jeans. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Nowhere.
like, you have to realize that you are the trend. You are the trend. Stop trying to be in the trend, and be the trend.
There it is.
You gotta be authentically you, man. And listen, no insult, no disrespect will ever will
That just
ever
slide right off.
it'll slide right off you. You don't have to prove nothing. I don't have to overcompensate. I don't have to post anything. I don't have to subtweet, but I'm just gonna be me. I'm just
Yep.
gonna be me, and the right people will find me. The right circle will find me. The right business opportunity will find me. The right opportunities will find you. But when you are still a bystander, when you're still a bystander, and you're still looking when you're still looking in, right? When you're still looking in and not doing anything, then you've already made your choice that okay, I'm of the world. But I'm not of the world. I'm 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 so much more than this world. And people don't ever realize that until you die. Then they want to say, "Oh, you were so
Oh
kind
gosh.
and generous and you put a smile on everybody's face." I'm trying to do that now.
Now.
I'm trying to do that now. I want to have that impact now. But if I'm always a bystander, I'll never impact people. I'll never impact people the way I was supposed to impact people. I'll never be able to tell a young boy, hey, you can do it. I'll never be able to tell them that if I would have just if I wouldn't have conquered my community, if I would have just sat there and been another statistic. Hey, like, I mean, people have told me that I was going to be a criminal, that I was going to be like, teachers have told me this, like, and there are some men and some women that still go around believing that. They still go around with that mindset that at any point I can slip. No, at every every loss is a lesson. Every loss that you dealt with is a lesson that hey, God was teaching me something in that, and this next season I can use it, and this next year I can use it.
Come on
But
here.
if you're still looking at it as if it was defeat, you know, because it was your ex girlfriend or your ex boyfriend or your ex husband or your best friend, because normally the bullying is from people you trusted.
Yeah.
It's from people you trusted. It's not even those strangers. Strangers don't affect you that much. It's some people that you thought, okay, I show 120% of myself, and you gonna beat me down. You know what I'm saying? Those are the situations that we got to heal from. Those are the
Yeah.
situations that we got to tell ourselves, I dealt with it, but I dealt with it to help someone else. I dealt with it so I can write this book. I dealt with it so that I can write this business plan, so that I can have a vision for where my life is supposed to be. And a lot of times when people commit suicide, it's because they don't see any hope. They have lost hope. Like, I was thinking about the one year where a lot of um teens with different sexual orientations were committing suicide, and Obama's like, oh my God, what is going on? Because it was just happening like all the time, because they don't see any hope. They don't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and you don't understand that you can be that person. Like, I know we're so, like, we're so well rounded now, and but people are still dealing with it. Like, even though we like to say, oh yeah, the world is accepting now. No, it's not. No, it's not. And it's never really going to be accepting until we can all join forces on the same mission. We got to all join forces on the same mission, and endure this thing together.
Come on here.
That's all I got to say, Dr. Shay. Dr. Shaggy.
Sheesh, man. Again, I really do want to extend my gratitude to you, Mr. Haten, for taking time out of your very busy schedule to make it on tonight. For those that are tuning in, you can purchase Mr. Haten's uh, new book, Coco's New Friend. When we get this published on our media pages, there will be a link in the description leading you to the Amazon page so that you can purchase the book. If you have any nieces, daughters, sons, cousins, anybody that's, between in the elementary to middle school age range, definitely feel free to purchase the book. I'm sure that, there will be many more opportunities to come for Mr. Haten in 2023, from book signings to speaking engagements to all of the above. And I'm definitely looking forward to see what this new year has in store for us. I definitely do believe that this was the perfect interview to end off the year with. So I thank you. Um, I thank everyone that has tuned in on the live for tonight. Yes, order signed copies with the author. Um, what's the pricing on that, Mr. Haten, for the
Mike,
books?
huh?
For the books,
Oh,
$20.
$20. 20
See,
$20.
not bad at all. See, we spending $20 on groceries
Talk
uh,
to
and clothes and a whole bunch of other stuff. And
him.
this is
Talk
something
to
that can
him.
definitely add value and help the younger generation feel a lot more comfortable in their authenticity. So definitely, I will be sure to include all of his handles so that you guys can get in contact with him and connect with him. And yeah, that pretty much sums out tonight's interview. Once again, my name is Rex Shege, the host and founder of King Stills, where we help you transform trauma into triumph. Thank you for joining us
Yes.
on tonight. Y'all
Thanks for
have a,
having me.
of course, hope that everyone has a wonderful evening. Happy New Year, and everyone stay blessed. I know I sound a little congested. I'm battling COVID right now, but God is good.
Oh, he's